I thought this phase of the experiment was going to be about restoring an old Mercian, and obviously it has, but somewhere over the last week, I realised the bike wasn't the only point anymore. It became about whether I was actually capable of doing it. A month ago I didn't know how to do any of this. I'd never replaced cable housing on drop bars, I'd never serviced a hub, and I'd never installed a chain. Even things like using a torque wrench were completely new to me. I didn't even know what a set of vernier calipers were. Every single job just felt outside my comfort zone. One day last week, I walked out onto my balcony at 9:30 in the morning. After stripping the bike down and cleaning it the previous day, I thought I'd spend a few hours putting it back together again. I looked up and it was 7 p.m. Nearly 10 hours had disappeared. I wasn't trying to be quick, quite the opposite. I just wanted to understand everything I was doing, so I took it really slowly. Every bearing, every cable, every bolt, every tiny adjustment. And there were mistakes, plenty of them. I had hub bearings spill all over the floor and I had to chase them around with a magnet. I had a rear wheel that suddenly didn't want to go back in the frame anymore, and I genuinely thought I'd somehow managed to bend it. I wrestled with Marathon Plus tyres that absolutely refused to go on. And then right at the very end, literally the last thing I needed to touch before being able to go out for a first ride, I snapped the front brake barrel adjuster. I just stood there looking at it thinking, you've got to be kidding me. But something felt different this time. None of those moments made me question whether I should be doing this. They were just problems that needed solving. There was something else that really surprised me too. I'd spent hours researching tools, comparing brands, reading reviews, waiting for deliveries, trying to imagine what I'd need one day. But this week there wasn't much imagining. I just reached for them. The work stand, the torque wrench, the tyre glider, the chain tool, the calipers, the magnetic trays, the little park tool picks, the grease brushes, the little air blower, even a little Nipex pliers wrench that I'd convinced myself were probably a mistake purchase. Even that had its moment of being exactly the right tool I needed at one moment. And somewhere during the week I realised something else. This workshop didn't feel like a collection of things I'd bought anymore. It felt like my workshop. The work stand quietly held the bike all day. The magnetic trays stopped me from losing parts. The brushes, the grease, the gloves, the rags, all those little things I'd spent time collecting suddenly made perfect sense. It's funny, when I started buying all this kit, I was buying into the idea that maybe one day I'd know how to use all of it. And this week I realised I do. And that was a really satisfying feeling. I don't know where this business is going to end up. Maybe it becomes something, maybe it stays a hobby. I honestly don't know. But this week gave me something I wasn't expecting. Confidence. Not because somebody told me I was doing a good job, and not because I passed the course, but because I'd spent time solving problems with my own hands. At one point I looked around the workshop on my balcony. I looked at the bike, and then I realised I had everything I needed. At first I meant the tools, but I also meant something else as well. I had enough knowledge, I had enough patience and persistence, and enough confidence to keep going whenever something didn't go to plan. And that's a really nice feeling. When I finished rebuilding the bike, I found myself standing back and just looking at it. Not because it was perfect, and let's be honest, it really isn't, but because I can remember every single job I've done on it, every problem I'd solved and every little victory along the way. I'll never have to learn those jobs for the first time ever again. On my bike at least. That knowledge is mine, and that's what I think I'm most proud of. I thought I was restoring an old bicycle, but somewhere along the way, the real restoration happened in the guy holding the spanners. This week I didn't just restore an old Mercian. I proved to myself that I can do this.